Hey there everybody, my name's Nathan Elson and today we're going to be talking about Luminar Neo. Now Luminar just came out with some tools centered around the idea of being able to add bokeh into your final images as well as retouching skin using AI. And so they reached out to me as someone who edits a ton of portraits, asking me if I'd be interested in trying out these new tools, giving my thoughts on how they work. So we're going to jump into Luminar Neo. We're going to run some images through the software and see how these new tools do. So let's jump into the software right now. Try it out. All right, so here we are in Luminar Neo, and the first thing I want to talk about is the Bokeh AI, because it was the one that I was the most skeptical about, but it actually works surprisingly well. So I have an image here of a model for a clothing company that I shot a few years back. But looking at this, I thought, what if I wanted this to have a little bit shallower depth of field to it? Maybe blur out the wall a little bit, that kind of thing. So what I can do is I can come up into my edit box here, and then I can come down to Bokeh. And so what it does is it creates this mask of the image, which is pretty impressive on its own. And then I can add in this blur. And what this arrow does is it determines the distance from the lens to the background and adjusts the blur accordingly. So if I want the blur to kind of sit just behind her a little bit, I can put it there and do a little before and an after. If I want it to be a little bit more blurred, it kind of starts creeping in on our subject here. And obviously that's not going to work, but there is one thing with this. So say I wanted to have a little bit of a heavier blur like this, but when I zoom in and if I do a before and an after, I'm losing all of these little bits of hair and everything like that in the image, which I'm not cool with. So what you can do then is you can come down to the masking, and then I'm going to click on this AI mask, and it's going to go through, do all of its calculations. Then I'm going to select human because that's what I want to mask. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to invert that. And what that's going to do is if I zoom in on this now I've got all those little hairs back and everything like that. So when I do before and then after, I've got those little hairs that are coming back into the image, making this look a lot more natural. So I'll just do a little split view here. 1 second. There we go. So before, after. It actually works surprisingly well. Now, the other thing that I can do with this, which is actually pretty cool, is I can come up and I can click on sun rays, and then I'm just going to increase this a bit, and it's going to give me this sun in my image. Now I can change the placement of that. Let's put this maybe up into the corner a little bit, and we'll increase the sun rays a touch, maybe bring the penetration down just a little. And then let's increase the warmth of the sun rays. And now when I do it before and after on this, it's a completely different image. Now this works great for commercial, for putting into an ad, that kind of a thing, but this becomes a little bit more stylized, something that's just got a little bit more flair to it. So I don't know, just something that I thought was actually pretty cool, being able to combine the shallow depth of field in with these sun rays and just doing a quick before and an after. It works surprisingly well. But let's jump into another shot here. So I've got this model sitting here on a bench. And again, I just want to see if I can blur out this background a little bit, make him pop a little bit more. So I'm going to come down to my bokeh. Again, I'm going to increase that blur. And it automatically created the mask of him sitting there, which is fantastic. So I'm going to bring that blur up, and then we can adjust this so that it's not creeping in on this light here. If I come down too far, it just starts to make those lights look really weird. So we'll push it just past the light and just past him. We'll increase that up a little bit. And then so a before and an after. Now again, I just want to make sure that the masking is doing its job. So I'm going to come in here again. I'm going to click on this mask AI, let it do its thing, select that human, come back, select invert, and it's going to now again, just make sure that I have all of my hair and everything like that, not disappearing in the final image. And again, something else that you can do here is now I'm going to come up into my atmosphere, and I'm going to select mist. And what that's going to do is it's just going to add a little bit of atmosphere to the image. And again, I can bring this forward. I can push it back into the image. I can kind of put it wherever I want to. So let's just Maybe bring it up in here. Just a little bit of digital haze. And again, so a before and an after, and then a before and an after on the whole thing. And again, it just adds a little bit of atmosphere, makes him pop a little bit. It works surprisingly well. All right, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the skin retouching. So I've got my model here. We were out in the hoodoos, which for those of you who don't know, are these areas in the Badlands, which is essentially like a desert area. It was super hot and it was uncomfortable. So you end up with like bags under your eyes, different things like that, that are just unavoidable. So what you can do now in Luminar Neo is you can come over to the face and you can actually click on this dark circles removal. And if we just push that up, it automatically gets rid of those dark circles very quickly, very efficiently. Let's bring it down just a little bit because that was a little heavy. Perfect, just like that. Then we can come in, something that I like with this is the eye enhancer. So if I just bring this up a little bit, it just adds a little punch into the eyes. And then there's this other thing that they just came out with called face light. And this just essentially, if I crank it up here, it detects the face and adds light to the face. Now, obviously that's a little bit much, but if we wanted to just add a little bit more light to the face just to make it stand out just a touch here, there, just a before and after. Super clean, super easy. Now, from there, we can come down into our skin, and from there we can select our blemish removal. Now, blemish removal is something that some software does really well, some software does not. So we're going to test it in on this. Now, my model here, she has great skin. There isn't a lot that you need to, essentially worry about. There's a little bit on the forehead, a little bit over here on the side of the mouth, but for the most part, her skin's pretty great, but she also has these freckles. And a lot of this software, what it does is it ends up blurring everything, and you lose all of that freckle, you lose all that detail. But I'm just going to take this blemish removal tool and I'm going to bring that to 100%. And if we do a before and an after, as you can see, it's taking out all of the blemishes, but it's leaving all of the freckles. I'll do a split view here for you. So before, after. The freckles are still there, but those blemishes are gone. It does an unreal job. Now, I don't typically do face smoothing or body smoothing or shine removal, anything like that. I like my skin to look like skin. But for those of you who just want a really quick and easy way to retouch an image using a couple of sliders, this works extremely well. And not only that, so now I've got these other images of my model here that I shot that are completely different. Different lighting, different outfit, whatnot. So I'm just going to select all three of those, and then I'm going to come up to my adjustments, right click, and I'm going to sync those adjustments. And what that's going to do is it's going to apply that same adjustment to this image, even though it's not the same image. So we're just waiting for that to process here. Might be a little slower than I'd like. There we go. So now the processing is done. And if we do a before and an after, so it did the face light. It took away the bags underneath the eyes. It punched into the eyes a little bit, gave a little bit more life to them. And yeah, just cleaned everything up. Let's see with this one here. So if we come in a little tighter on this again, and we'll do a before and an after. So the before and the after. And again, slight adjustments, but super important for the final edit. Now, I didn't have any images of anyone that had heavier acne. So these are images that were not shot by me, but they were provided during the Luminar Neo presentation when they were showing us these tools. So I just want to show you here quick with someone who does have more acne than just a couple of different bumps here. If we come down into our skin and we do the blemish removal, this will very quickly clean this up, make everything look nice and neat, but you're still getting to keep all of your skin texture. It's not just blurring everything to nothing. But not only that, I have a female here, and if I select this male here and I take my adjustments, sync those adjustments, this will go through and it will compute and it will apply those same adjustments to a completely different face, be it female, male, whatever it might be. So again, just waiting a few moments for this to finish processing, and there it goes. So the before and the after did it very, very quickly. Now this looks a little too smooth for me, so I can come up into my edits here. I can click on the skin, and then I can lower that down a little bit just to make it look a little bit more natural. And then again, just a before and an after. It's literally as simple as that. And so there you have it, a super easy way to add some bokeh into your images if it needs them, as well as retouching multiple images with a few clicks of a button. So if you're interested in trying out Luminar Neo, there will be a link down in the description below, and you will have 3 packages to choose from. The Perpetual Desktop license, which is for desktop only, the Cross-Device Perpetual license, which includes editing on both mobile and desktop, or the Perpetual Max license, which includes desktop, mobile, and over 1,000 creative assets, including presets, skies, LUTs, and overlays. And depending when you're watching this video, they are having a spring sale, so this might be the best time for you to pick up this software. But with that, thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.